Hey guys, we are broadcasting live here from my bedroom closet. This video today is a how-to video. We are going to replace the electric radiator cooling fan on my wife's cousin Sean's 2014 Prius C. And why I've decided to make this video is because I scoured, as well as my wife's cousin, we scoured the internet trying to find a how-to video on replacing this cooling fan that's prematurely gone dead. The car's only a 14, so what is it, 6-7 years old? Usually Toyotas don't have problems like this, but it's gone bad. I think it's just a little too new out there for there to be a video, so we're gonna make it. And today I'm gonna get into what to do to prepare to safely work on your car. So the first things first has really nothing to do with car repair, but we're doing an introduction here. I like to wear some heavy-duty work boots. These are Red Wings that I've had since 2007. As of the recording of this video on January 31st, 2021, these boots I've had for 14 years, and they have the Vibram sole, which, as you could tell, they're heavily worn and need to be resoled, but whatever, I don't wear them that much anymore. When I do yard work, I wear them, but when you're working on a car, if you're dropping something heavy, you want to have a strong shoe to wear. And I keep my Red Wing work boots looking great by using the original Red Wing boot oil. You want to keep your Red Wings or any leather construction boot oiled regularly to extend the longevity, especially if you're working in a damp environment. It'll keep the water off of it, keep the leather soft so it won't split, it won't crack. These things can look terrible and disgusting and dirty after a hard day's work, and then I just wipe them down with a wet rag and oil it with the Red Wing boot oil, and they come back looking like new still. I mean, 14 years old, guys. Look at these boots. They still look fabulous. You want to get your soft bristle shoe brush, just condition it. Take a couple of minutes to just coat it in oil and let it dry overnight. So that's my thing, and I don't have them on me, but when you're seeing us film the video, you're going to want to wear safety glasses, and we'll get into that as well. So enjoy this video. We don't know how long it's going to be. We're just getting ready to start out, and you can come along with us for this journey and learn how to replace this cooling fan on your Prius C if you have one too. So get ready, folks. Buckle up. It's getting real. So here we are, folks, with my wife's cousin's 2013. I was corrected. I called it a 14 in the intro. This is a 13 Prius C. The Prius C is the entry-level Prius in the Prius lineup. There was the Prius Standard, multiple trim levels within that range. Prius C is the smaller one below that, and then there's even a Prius V that they used to make, which was above the regular standard Prius. So here's the Prius C. First and foremost, when you're making videos for a public forum such as YouTube, you want to conceal any identifying marks where people will be able to find you. So as you can see, I've concealed the license plate because you don't want Rupert Pupkin from Fairlawn, New Jersey stalking you and coming and whisking you away in the night because they become obsessed with your channel. So what we're going to do now, we're going to put the car up on jack stands. We only need to jack up the front, drain the coolant, we'll go from there. FYI, I had my Toyota independent mechanic quote us $800 using an OEM fan assembly to replace this at their shop. And how much did we secure this aftermarket assembly for?
About $150.
$150 in parts, and the labor is all free. It doesn't matter how long it's going to take for us to do it. There's a learning curve. I want to dedicate this video to Chris Fix. He has one of the best do-it-yourself automotive repair channels on YouTube. He inspires the average person to save money, driveway repair. You could do it. I did the brakes on my own car last month and saved a ton of money. So that's it, folks. We're going to get started. Okay, folks, we've jacked up the vehicle. The Prius, as well as most modern cars, are unibody construction. So they're not body on frame, but they still have a frame rail where it's stamped metal, where your jack stands are going to want to go. So we've lifted it up high enough to get up underneath. You could see that the jack supports are on the frame rail. And as you'll see from the other side, we keep the jack tensioned as an extra set of support just in case these cheapo, who knows where they're from, jack stands I found in the garage fail. We'll still have some support of that jack to get out in case there's an emergency. So you always want to make sure that you get your jack stands on a structural part of the car, frame rails, it's not going to crumple. And when you're jacking just the front, you want to put something behind your rear wheel. It sets your e-brake. So that's that little bit of safety 101 when you're doing driveway stuff up on jack stands. We will continue on in just a moment. Here on the driver's side of the car, we've connected the like a refrigerator type coolant line hose for like an ice machine. And otherwise you got to remove this whole belly pan here, which is probably the right way to do it, but we're going to go for time savings here. And then there's the valve up there to let the coolant out of the radiator. So we have this line coming down and then going into that jug right there, and we're going to reuse it because the coolant has only been replaced like 2 years ago and it's still good. And Toyota coolant is very expensive, so that's what our aim is. We're going to do that off camera and let you know the results. And then there's also another one that we have to drain. Actually, that might not be necessary. I think this is the inverter coolant line, so we don't need to mess with that coolant. So what we're doing now while the coolant is draining out of the radiator, we're removing the radiator cross member mount here. Don't know if that's the technical name or not. Nice thing about Toyota is they use a lot of 10mm bolts, so you're going to want to use a 10mm wrench and socket. Unless you have a really short fit right there for a socket wrench, this is really the only way to do it. So you got to remove this cross member to get to the radiator, to get to that cooling fan that's on the back side, which is what we're attempting to remove today. So 10mm wrench, socket, and regular box in or closed in, and that should get you started. As you can see, we're still slowly draining the coolant out of there. And we're gonna try to not have to drain the reservoir because the reservoir is attached to the cooling fan, and my hope is that it will all come out as just one piece and then we can dump it out of there. And make sure you keep these in a space where you do not lose them, because they're gonna need to go back, and remember the way that you took them out. Okay, you can stop the tape now. So we've removed the the radiator support. That's the hardware that holds it together. There are these two plastic fasteners and all these 10mm guys right there. You got to remove the latch assembly for the hood, and then there's some there, three right there, and then there's two right there. And now it's loose. So the next order of operation, I think, is you got to disconnect the motor cables right there, and that's what we're going to work on right now. Once you once you have used a screwdriver to remove the electrical connectors from the electrical box here for the fan, you use an 8mm socket to remove the radiator bolts that hold it to the vehicle. So we're going to do that now, and then we'll focus on disconnecting the hose clamps and all that. So once you've disconnected the power, there's a black and a white plug that you have to disconnect from the power source for the electric fans. Then you got to remove the 10mm bolts that hold the radiator assembly into the actual vehicle itself, and then we'll focus on the hose clamps after that. So there is your new part. The new part has the reservoir. You have to remove the fan computer, which is a Denso part, from the old part, which is right there. And then you detach it from the radiator, which you're obviously reusing as well. And you're also using from the old part the filler neck. So you got to disconnect those parts from the old shroud and then put it on the new one. And then this snaps in place to the radiator, and you flop the support bracket out of the way, and it goes down into those supports down there, and you have to kind of tuck it underneath that AC line, and then you connect all the hoses back, and we should be good to go. So hopefully by the end of this video, we'll have this all buttoned back up. See you then, folks. As you can see, we've reconnected the fan computer and the filler nozzle and overflow tank. And now this is ready to be connected back to the radiator, and then wiggle it back into that tiny space. If this was some American car for the 50s or 60s, you'd be able to live in there with that radiator. We've been working on this for 3 hours, folks. We're starting to lose it, okay? Give me a break. 3.5 hours later, we have the new shroud back in and all the hoses connected. I will give you this advice though, and another one of my favorite YouTubers, the Car Wizard out of Kansas, he always says use original equipment parts on certain things. And we got the aftermarket one here, and there was all these hose clips that kind of guide the hose, and they didn't fit and snap into place on the new one. The corner of the condenser support for the bracket to support the condenser on one side was sheared off out of the box. The piece wasn't even in the box, so we can only assume that they packed it and shipped it that way. The new part OEM was probably $400 or $500 versus $150, so I guess you need to determine if it's worth it to get the Denso or whatever the genuine Toyota. So now all we have to do is top the fluids off and we will be good to go, and we'll see if that new fan fires up. At the AutoZone, they did not have the genuine Toyota coolant, and we did drain the pre-existing coolant into a bottle, but I felt like, you know what, we've come this far, might as well use fresh stuff. So we got the Peak brand Asian Vehicles, same color as the original. We just got to top off the engine and the inverter, and then we'll be able to cycle through the bleeding, and hopefully everything will work. Great success, everybody. The fan is running. This is the part that we set out to replace. Took us 4 hours. We got it in. So the fan is running now. Does that noise sound normal? It's the noise. I'm guessing that's just the fan. I have no idea. Oh, you know what? This thing has an electric AC compressor, I think. So I think that might be what that noise is. Let me know.